KUAM News, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Culture Club.
KUAM News Hotspot is brought to you by
Pacific Points, Do More, Get More, and Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
The Menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the Fresh Garden Bar.
Six Republican senators were sworn in this week for the 37th Guam legislature, but for the 8th straight term, they will be in the minority. It's now historically the longest drought ever for any party. Prior to this, the Republicans were also shut out for 7 consecutive terms from the 17th to the 24th Guam legislatures. The GOP has not held the majority since the 29th Guam legislature in 2008. It was during that term that their control was cut short by the untimely death of Senator and former Speaker Antonio R. Unpinko, for whom the current Guam Congress Hall is named. A special midterm election was held to fill the vacancy, which was won by Democrat Senator and later Speaker B.J. Cruz. Democrats have held the majority ever since. But newly elected Minority Leader Frank Blas Jr., who was a member of the last Republican-controlled legislature under then-Speaker Mark Forbes, is hoping to reverse that course. He and the current Republican minority members held a news conference recently to stake out their priorities for the upcoming term. Good everyone, and welcome to the Hub. I'm Nestor, and joining us this week is the new Minority Leader, Senator Frank Blas Jr. Senator, congratulations.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon.
So in your public press conference, you guys outlined some of the priorities for the Republican legislative agenda. Can you just briefly give us an overview? Yeah,
well, first off, as a group, we have been meeting regularly since the elections were over. Matter of fact, we started meeting even before the votes were certified. And in those discussions, one of the primary things we wanted to discuss is, the agenda for the Republican group in the legislature. And we came up with at least 5 areas of focus that we felt would be our priority. Not to say that there won't be other issues that we'll take, that we'll deal with, but these were the areas that we felt were necessary to be able to get us back on track. And first off, the goal that we have, in these initiatives is basically to create and support legislation that we feel is needed and is relevant to addressing the needs that our community has. And in those areas of focus, it's crime reduction, education proficiency, economic stabilization, government effectiveness, and environment protection. Within those areas, obviously, there are some key points and there's issues within these areas that we also look to address. In the area of crime reduction, one of the things that we want to be able to do is introduce the legislation to create what was dubbed by Senator Chris Dueñas as the MAULIC Task Force, as the Multi-Agency Unified Law Enforcement Group, to be able to combat, the prevalent drug crimes that are occurring on our island. It's a combination, it's a creation, and it will be a codified creation of a task force from within our different law enforcement agencies to be able to deal with this. Along with that, we want to be able to continue to support a piece of legislation, and now statute that I created, which is the Criminal Statute and Criminal Procedure Review Commission. That is already being it's stood up already by the judiciary. The Chief Justice Phil Carbolito has taken on that role and helm, and to be able to start that up. They've already appointed an executive director as well as nominated and appointed key individuals with this commission. And that purpose is to be able to look at the laws that we have existing in both Title 8 and Title 9 of our Guam Code annotated, which Title 8 is our criminal procedural statutes, and Title 9 being our criminal law. And if you look at some of these things, we have criminal law that has been in place for almost over 100 years, as well as procedures that have been in place for probably just as long, if not at least more than 50 years. And within the last 50 years, there have been a lot of changes, especially in the criminal procedure based on case law, and other things that have occurred, that I felt that it's necessary to be able to take a review of these things and find out which ones are antiquated, which ones need for us to be able to get rid of, which ones do we need to be able to amend so that we're up to par with these things. We need, if there's a need, to be able to strengthen that effort so that when legislation is introduced, it'll be introduced by this commission who've got the subject matter experts. Okay, instead of the legislature, and not take away, we still have that ability to be able to do this, but I want a more thorough review. We would like a more thorough review of these statutes. We want to be able to strengthen our drug use and recovery and rehabilitation programs. Okay, what are those things that we need to be able to put in place, that we can put in place legislatively, that would give this effort more teeth, and better substance, and probably greater success in being able to help those that use drugs be able to recover from their addiction and to rehabilitate and to live more productive lives. Another thing is to introduce legislation to enhance our crime prevention programs. I think that everybody who's got WhatsApp and live in certain villages, each village has got their own village watch program, which has become a good thing to have. Yeah. However, what can we do to improve a lot of these prevention efforts so that we give the community that power, if you will, to be able to help to protect themselves? Okay, and then of course the last one, but it surely is not the least, is basically explore and introduce legislation to support recidivism reduction, initiatives and the programs. We've got a number of different programs where individuals have served their time and now are on probation or parole and whatnot. But what are those programs to help them come back into normal life and reduce the propensity for these individuals to go back into? Okay.
Yeah, Senator, it's obviously a very ambitious agenda, but you remain in the minority in the legislature. How do you hope to, first of all, get that legislation through to your colleagues in the legislature, and then get the support of the administration?
I think that, especially in the areas of focus, I'm sure that if you talk to the colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they're just as concerned, and I'm sure that we share some of the same concerns. We've decided that we're going to prioritize a lot of these things and recognize there's going to be a plethora of initiatives, of statutes, legislation that's going to be introduced. But these are the ones that we're going to focus on, and I'm sure we recognize we need 8. It's the power of 8 in our case. Okay, we need 8 affirmative votes, and I'm confident that in working in tandem with our Democratic colleagues, that this is something that we can share with, that we can co-sponsor with, that I can support. This is not just because we have identified and outlined it as our initiatives to be working on. If our Democratic colleague has legislation that would help to be able to fill some of these gaps and stuff, we want to support it. Okay, we're not going to claim, and then we don't claim to be the experts in all places or have all the best ideas. Sometimes it comes from our Democratic colleagues, and we'll work with that. At the end of the day, it's what's best for our people. Okay, and putting aside the partisan politics that may exist just to get something passed. For me personally, it doesn't matter, who sponsored it at first? Who's the main sponsor? If it's good for the people, it's right for the people, hey, let's pass it. Okay? Because that person that benefits from this really doesn't, end of the day, it really doesn't care that Frank Blas, was the one who introduced it. It's that it was introduced and it was handled by the legislature, and it was good for the people.
All right. We need to take a short break, Senator, and we'll be back with more of The Hub right after this.
All right.
Get all your beverages delivered from the Bottle Shack on the UnaGo app and website. Whether you're watching the big game, celebrating a milestone, or just want to unwind at home, we got you. Delivering spirits, soft drinks, beer, ice, and more right to your front door. Check out our Instagram page for monthly specials and giveaways. The Bottle Shack on UnaGo. The fast, safe, and responsible way to enjoy life. Must be 21 and older to order. Delivery is limited to certain villages. Visit uno-go.com or download the app today. Drink responsibly.
All right, and so we're back from the break, and Senator, I wanted to move on to the topic of, it's been about 14 years, I think, since there was a Republican majority in the legislature. I think you might have been part of that under former Speaker Mark Forbes. Why do you think that's been the case? Why have you guys been shut out from the majority for such a long period of time?
Well, from political aspect, I think that, unfortunately, as Republicans, we weren't effective enough in being able to articulate, what we want to be able to do. Sometimes one of the discussions was sometimes our conversations, the way we presented to people, was way above the comprehension level of a number of people. So we had to learn, and we need to be able to speak with the community. And I think that there has been a transition in party roles, if you will, political roles, in that, where at one time, the Republican Party was seen as the party of the elite. Okay, now the elitist is now it's party of the people. Just take a look at who's been financing what campaigns, and I got very little campaign contributions from the community, from businesses, and more from the community. That said, though, is that we're working on being able to, while we believe that we've got a good philosophy and a good ideas to how we're going to what we need to do, it's articulating how we're going to do this, and we're working fervently on that. We have got candidates that we're grooming as well. That's the other thing, is that for many a time that we weren't very successful in being able to groom candidates that were willing to be able to step up with us, and so we're taking those steps too as well, to be able to do that, to be more inclusive in this thing. And truth be told, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. What has happened to us over the last basically 14, 16 years is because of our doing, but I believe that if a lot more people understand what we're doing and why we want to do these things, that we're going to garner more support. And the other thing too is quite honestly, we need to get out the vote. Okay, there are many Republicans, just even in the last election, that didn't vote, and you saw that in the numbers. And if we can convince them, and we can encourage them that, look, we need your help to be able to move this along, and work on efforts to be able to ensure that, or to make sure that happens, then we'll be more successful. But that's what we're working on.
If I hear you, I think it boils down to a couple of things for the Republicans to regain the majority. One, as you mentioned, is that communication, is being able to explain to people better what you stand for. Let's take that first. How do you go about explaining that, and what are the issues that you think people need to know about the Republican Party, what they need to understand about you?
Well, first off, it's that old adage that we work for business, and we work for profit. So that the profit is there. No, it's not the profit that's there. It's the opportunity to be able to create a worthwhile and fruitful life for individuals. We don't necessarily. It's not that we don't like government, but we would appreciate a little bit more that government is not too much, doesn't infringe upon the personal, the freedoms that our community has and enjoys. Okay, you know, philosophy. The less the government has an impact or influences in your lives, the better. You know, government was put in place so that they can provide services that the community itself can't provide for itself. But when we start to rely on the government to be able to provide everything, then what happens then to you know, an individual's self-worth, you know, or satisfaction, or ability to be able to make good with their lives. And so we need to be able to articulate that, as opposed to saying that, oh, we're doing this because we, you know, for business interest. The business interest here is the business of the people, okay, and making it easier for them, and making it more, they can live more productive and less intrusive lives, and that's what we want to be able to do.
Yeah. The second thing I wanted to talk about, it was the bench strength, and you mentioned that as well, developing new candidates. And you know, let's be frank. You know, the composition now of the Republican minority is made up of mostly former senators. You had to come back. Joanne Brown had to come back. Tello Titagui came back. Former Minority Leader Chris Duenas came back. And then you have two new ones, former Senator Jesse Lujan also kept coming back. And then Attorney Tom Fisher, who is no spring chicken either. Sorry, Tom. But, you know, so how do you attract the youth to the party, the young bloods who will take your, you know, your positions and your agenda forward?
Well, first off is letting them become more involved in a lot of the discussions that we're having. Okay, you know, is leaning to them, and basically, okay, what ideas do you have, and how can this work? Just giving them that opportunity to be able to, you know, strengthen their where they're strong, and to build upon and to work on some of their weaknesses. You know, the thing is, again, it goes back to giving them that opportunity to be able to see how, you know, encouraging them, and as well as in enticing them to be able to become more active. You know, granted, yes, you know, there were processes and there were things that were involved in politics, you know, partisanship and whatnot, that may not sit too well. It worked 30, 40 years ago, but doesn't necessarily work now. Okay, and I tell you, it's working with these young folks, these bright minds, because, you know, at one time I was them, you know, and it took some encouraging for me. Well, you're calling for the most part, to be able to run. Okay, granted, yes, I had what was probably a political advantage in the lineage that I've been, but there have been many others that did not have the same political lineage that have become very successful and started lineages of their own, and that's what we want to be able to do. So it's being able to get with them and be a part of the decision-making processes, and then, you know, if they fall, help them to get up and move forward. Truth be told, Nestor, as we're speaking, sitting right next to me is my political advisor, Vince Bora. Okay, and Vince is one of those individuals that we want to continue to groom, and we want, and one of these days he's going to be, you know, a political leader, not just with the party, but for the island, you know, and right. We're working on others as well.
Okay, we're going to take another short break and be back with Minority Leader Frank Blas Jr. right after this.
Hey, you want to order some Taco Bell?
Two grilled chicken burritos, two bold flavors. Order on the app, only at Taco Bell.
All right, Senator. So before the break, we were talking a little bit about the future of the Republican Party. Just wanted to expand just a little bit more on that. You mentioned one of your staff there, Vince Bora, who has run for the legislature before. Tell me about some more candidates that you might be grooming, and maybe some names that we'll see come the next election in 2 years.
No, I'm probably going to get a phone call after this saying, why'd you mention my name? Okay. But I'm going to, because I see them as promising and up and coming. Tyler Montanani. Okay. Bistro Mendiola. Many of the candidates that ran, Ian Callan was another one. Harvey Egna, Mortera. Okay. Sandra Regis. Okay. They're young, actually, and they've got bright, enthusiastic, minds and everything. It's just that, again, it's in the articulation, it's in the campaign process that many of them weren't successful. We need to build that and bolster that, but at the same time, keep them enthused and really, wanting to be able to one day, go on and become senators, go on to become governor, lieutenant governor. Okay, be influential in the community through other places. One of the things that I always encouraged, with our up and coming candidates, get involved with a nonprofit, do something for the community. That there's really no expectation of gratitude or anything. It's just do something that's right, that you feel that is necessary, and that help you to build your passion and draw upon, all the strength you're going to need to be able to weather a campaign. But it's individuals like this, and we're going to continue to work with them. I'm going to continue to work with them, to be able to do this. It was unfortunate again in this last campaign. I think that one of our failures was being able to. And many Republicans did stay home, and had we been successful in doing this, maybe the makeup would have been different.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to switch back to the upcoming 37th legislature. We saw during the initial ceremonies, inaugural ceremonies, that there appears to be a little bit of a split within the Democratic Party that perhaps the Republicans can leverage, or how do you plan to strategize, if you will, that going forward?
Well, first off, we got to remember why we were put there in the first place. It's to work on the concerns that the community have, and if we're going to get our wills wrapped up on who the leadership is and everything, we're never going to move forward. Okay, so one of the things I can assure you is that in the process of preparing for our work in the 37th is we've reached out to our Democratic colleagues and said, hey, recognizing traditionally, yes, you guys have the responsibility of being able to work out the leadership, but if apparently you're at an impasse in some areas, you're going to need Republican votes. So how can we participate in also, basically, how can the Republican members of the 37th Guam legislature benefit from the leadership? Okay, and this truth be told, the benefit is for making sure that we can move agenda to be able to help our people. Okay, it's nothing more. It wasn't about who's going to get the title or who's going to take the responsibilities. Being able to work together so that we can work towards what our people should expect from its legislature. And so in doing this, what we basically wanted to do is basically, for lack of a better term, force the issue. Okay, it's really discerning when less than 24 hours, less than 6 hours before we were to be inaugurated, that we had no clue as to who the leader was going to be. And that's just but one position. There are other, who's the vice speaker? Who's the legislative secretary? What do the standing rules look like? Into a ceremony where all of that should already be set in place, and it's not. Okay, it's like, guys, can we move on so that we can work on what our people expect us to work on? Yeah. So that's the position we've taken.
Yeah. So typically, the midterm, it's a lot easier to get bipartisan support, correct? I mean, the last term, the gubernatorial year, it's much more difficult. So you expect that in the 37th being a midterm, if you will, kind of legislature, it'll be a lot easier to get across bipartisan.
Well,
legislation.
I tell you, from a personal point of view, is every election is an election for the people. Yes, granted, we have to run in different parties, okay, but after that is done, all right. I don't have a book that's out there, that basically says, if you're gonna come and see me, I got to check to see whether or not first off you voted and whether or not you voted Republican. That doesn't exist, and that shouldn't exist. Okay, so whether it's the midterm or whether it's in the gubernatorial term, in order to be able to survive, you're going to have to get votes from both sides. Okay, you're going to have to work with both sides, and I think the way you encourage and the way you show people how to do this is it doesn't matter which political affiliation you're with. You work for the people of Guam. Okay, and they could have been a village leader, for the political party on the opposite side. But if this individual's got a reason and a concern, you got the obligation to be able to listen. And that's what I tell you what is, and in my discussions with my fellow Republican members, that's how we work. And that's how we're going to work. That's how we're going to be able to win. The confidence of the people on the body that we represent. Okay, because I think I saw a poll that was taken a few weeks ago, basically the confidence level of the legislature, and it was dismal. It was dismal, and I think it was dismal because there's this confusion as to what the role of the legislature is and what the role and what legislators are portraying as their role and what what we can truly basically control and what we're responsible for, and we need to be able to delineate that. Okay. That's all the process necessary in this term. So whether it's a midterm or whether it's a gubernatorial term, okay, the election's done. Do the work of the people.
All right. We're going to take one last break, Senator, and we'll be right back.
How deep do Pizza Hut's roots run in the islands? Through all the decades, we know what you love. Great taste at an even better price. Like our large 3-topping carry-out pizza for just $13.99. You choose your favorite toppings, meat, vegetables, or any combination that totals 3. Our $13.99 large 3-topping pizza. Order online and carry one out today. Only at Pizza Hut, the island's best.
Hafiday, Guahan families! Are you interested in getting your Hunter Education certification? The Department of Agriculture's Hunter Education Program is hosting ongoing in-person classes open to Guam residents ages 13 and older. You'll learn hunter ethics and responsibility, wildlife conservation, basics of firearm and shooting skills, hunting equipment and techniques, survival skills, outdoor field skills, and more. The class meets the International Hunter Education Association national standards and does not expire. Attendees must pre-register in advance by emailing jane.dia@doag.guam.gov. Student manuals must be completed before the class day. Classes are open on a first-come, first-served basis. Students under 18 must be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian. And if you can't attend our in-person class, don't worry. You may also register for the online Hunter Education Certification course by emailing jane.dia@doag.guam.gov. Safe hunting begins with Hunter Education.
All right, and we're back. The Senator, we've got about a minute left. Is any message you want to impart to the people of Guam as the new minority leader?
Well, as the minority leader, again, I was humbled by the membership, by our partisan colleagues, to be able to get their vote of confidence and support to be able to lead them. But it's an easy task because every member of our caucus is a leader in themselves. Okay, I just happen to be what is the mouthpiece of the consensus. Okay, and to be able to help them along those lines. That said, though, we've got an aggressive agenda for the 37th Guam legislature. We want to continue to work on things that are again relevant and needed to get our community, past this level of the calamities that we've had to experience over the last 3 years. Okay, and improve so that if something were to happen similar to this down the road, we're better prepared. But more so that our jobs can come back, our people can come home. Okay, businesses can thrive, the community can flourish. That's what we're going to focus on, and with your continued support and help, and basically your suggestion to be able to do this, we'll be successful in the 37th legislature.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Frank Blas Jr., the new minority leader of the 37th KUAM legislature. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir. You take care. Have a great day. Happy New Year.
I'm Nestor. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week on The Hub.